What's up, everybody? I'm Ethan Giffin, and welcome to eCommerce Masters. I'm your host and the CEO of Groove Commerce, and I love talking shop about all things commerce. Just a note that we're a video-first podcast, so if you want to take full advantage of all the things you're looking at today, head on over to our YouTube channel at Groove Commerce, and you'll be able to watch as well as listen. And if you like what you're hearing, please be sure to give us a like, leave a comment, or subscribe to our channel. Today, I've got an awesome guest talking about some very cool technology that's very exciting. I'm going to welcome Michael Diesu to the show today from Revenue Roll. Michael, welcome.
Thanks for having me, Ethan.
It's great to see you. So tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you get involved in commerce? I love to hear everybody's story.
Yeah, mine, not that crazy, but I was working at Accenture doing M&A consulting, growth strategy consulting. My business partner was at Google. We actually had met in college way back when, and he actually came to me with this problem that we're solving that we'll get into today. He had an idea for a business, and he was looking for a co-founder to kind of oversee the business side of things. So I jumped into e-commerce, tech, with no experience, purely, from day one, was learning it on the fly.
That's cool. Many of us did. I had an old friend got acquired by Google, and he's like, yeah, none of us would be able to work here if we, if we hadn't been acquired, So it's everybody jumps into the industry in some way, right? So it's always cool to hear about that. So welcome to the show today. So tell us a little bit about what is Revenue Roll.
Yeah, totally. In a nutshell, we are a platform that helps advertisers retarget better, right? Helping them to figure out who is worth a second, third, fourth paid touch point or email touch point, and ensuring you maximize the value of every site visitor that comes through your funnels.
Cool. Are you specific to commerce, or do you work in B2B capacities, or what is your kind of target? Who is your target customer, your target merchant?
Yeah, I think just from our networks, we've gravitated to commerce, and Shopify stores have been our bread and butter. But our product works really well for any B2C advertiser. So that's an important clarification. We don't really work with B2B businesses like ourselves, but
Okay.
anyone targeting the consumer is a customer for us.
All right. So that's a great niche. How about, is there any kind of size, a revenue or traffic size that's a good fit for you, or does it work for anyone? And do you need a certain amount of visitor sessions to be able to get enough data back?
Typically around 50,000 site visitors is a good, temperature check. That's check one. And then number two is they have a healthy retargeting funnel built out, right? They have abandonment flows, they send campaigns. Because what our product is going to do is going to accelerate the potency of what you've already built.
Okay. All right. Do you send the emails, or do you layer over other ESPs?
Yeah, we would be a supporting tool to your ESP. Our product, think of it as really a CDP that's being built for you in real time. It's a data layer, if you will. It identifies traffic, builds the retargeting audience for you, prioritizes for you who you should be emailing, who you should be running ads at, and it seamlessly sends that data and decisions back into Meta, Google, Klaviyo. Some of our big customers have a Snowflake, database. We drop it there as well. So.
Oh, cool. And so, actually, it's probably a good time to start talking about what is, Revenue Roll? What is the product per se? So can you give us an overview of kind of soup to nuts, what the product does?
Yeah, absolutely. At its core, it's an identity network. And so how you can visualize that in your mind is kind of like a human brain. So we have connected, purchased, partnered with dozens of data sources out there. Think like Experian, TransUnion, publisher networks, government agencies, places like that. And we pool all of that data together to form personas. And think of a persona as, at its core, it's Ethan, right? But And the middle, right, that's Ethan. Around him is his devices.
And I think we have
Around the
a visual
devices,
for this you sent over, right? That shows.
yeah, yeah, we could pull that up. I think that's
Yeah,
the third slide in the identification piece.
yeah. So I'm in the center, and keep going.
Yeah, two more ahead. Exactly. So the left is actually like what the product is. It is a four-dimensional database, right? Which think of it as like nodes around Ethan, where you're at the center, your devices are around it, the center. Around the devices are the browsers, and then on the browsers are obviously the activities, right? What are they doing? What information are they giving? What are they shopping for? And so think of it as like when we see somebody coming on site, we try to run that IP address or that device ID through this brain. It fires like a synapse and it pulls back out all of this relevant information that helps us to prioritize who should they be retargeting.
Interesting. Interesting. Is that is that considered spammy? I guess is a question that I always have about these types of things.
So I think that, you have to be delicate with who you're emailing, right? So you can't just take everyone we identify and email them 100 times,
You
right? You
can't.
need to be strategic. I mean, you legally could, as long as you let them opt out, you're complying with canned spam, but that's not what we recommend for our customers. When we come in and we tell you we're going to identify more people, it's going to grow your audiences, we simultaneously recommend that you implement stronger cleaning policies, aggressive list cleaning, and things like that, because you have to kind of do both in tandem. Aggressively identify, but if somebody's not responding or clicking or opening these emails, you got to pull them out very, very quickly.
Yeah. I mean, I know. A predecessor in your space that had a lot of bad actors, within bad recommendations within that. Just kind of said to go full bore at times. So yeah, so you're saying that you should not like burn this list out. You should really just be aware of what you're sending and who you're sending to, and the overall engagement of what they're doing.
That's right. You're really like sifting through to filter out the ones that are engaged and are the right target customer for you. And that's why it takes a lot more than just giving you an email to do this right. You need to get their their age, their gender, their location, their shopping habits. You have to peel or piece together that whole persona to know with a strong confidence interval that this is somebody who's worth emailing. And that's that filtering process is really the crux of how we're different than others. On top of other strategies we can get through a little later.
Yeah. So is that filtering process? Are you able to identify, hey, this person is not engaged, you should kind of back them out, or how does that process
Yeah,
for someone kind of
exactly.
work?
So we're looking for like what was their latest touch point in the graph? Was it over a couple days ago? We definitely don't want to be if they've been quiet in the network for a while, we don't want to be sharing that data. We don't want to be emailing them. But then also like target customers. If you're selling men's underwear, right? Like you shouldn't be blasting it out to females, right? So
Right.
you need to filter out people who are not even your target customer because that's a waste of a send, in our opinion.
Well, I guess the question is, and and why shouldn't you email them? Why shouldn't you go fast and hard on this? What's the
Yeah,
repercussions of that?
yeah. Email deliverability, I would say, is one of the top e-commerce buzzwords for 2024. Google and Yahoo released some new sending requirements. Yep, this slide right here, perfect. Basically saying that you cannot get marked as spam 3 times per every 1,000 sends. If you get marked as spam 4 times out of 1,000, you would be above their,
Right.
maximum thresholds, and they would start to either ban your domain, or they would just start to place all of your emails in spam no matter what. And so that is a very, I would say, tightrope, that you have to walk as a brand. You want to be aggressive, you want to send more because more emails equals more revenue always,
Always.
but you have to be smart. And that's why we built this deliverability product.
Yeah, that's all right. And so, I know from our point of view with our Klaviyo practice, with our commerce email practice, we really, really try to email engaged folks up front to
Mhm.
try to open up those filters right? And then have a second wave of emails of the not as engaged people to kind of to get to them, or semi-engaged folks. And then unengaged folks at a point, we're just pulling them out of the flow. We're pulling them out of the campaigns and segments to be able to just not even send to them. And we might like try to warm them back up at a point and see if they
Mm-hmm.
re-engage. But it's we're kind of doing that in slower, in smaller like chunks than we had previously used to be able to do with that. So definitely a big concern of ours, all these new rules and how they affect what you're doing. What's the kind of general like process for this? Like, if you say I'm a merchant that I've got 100,000 visits a month to my website, I'm doing 25 million a year in revenue, and I want to install your product, I want to integrate it with my Klaviyo, use that to drive other segments within Klaviyo. Like, what does that process look like for somebody that wants to get that started?
Setup's very quick. I mean, if it's a Shopify Klaviyo site, we usually have them set up within a couple days after we get the access we need. We do it totally white glove. So once you sign on, we've really prioritized customer service and customer support. Every single one of my customers, if they want, is in a Slack channel with their CS rep. We are hands-on. We can build all the required flows, the segments, the rules. We take care of all of that for our customers. So once you sign, it's very much, we handle all the big legwork.
Cool. So they would need to have access to their Klaviyo and their Shopify. Um, any other, like, do you integrate with any other commerce platforms directly?
Yeah. We have big commerce customers. We have some WooCommerce customers, definitely a lot of WordPress. So our tracker, right, the pixel that we would put on the site is agnostic. So we're not like locked into only working with a specific platform or ESP. We can integrate with pretty much just about everybody.
Okay. And then on the ESP side, you integrate with Klaviyo. Is there any other folks that you commonly integrate with? And
Zenlane's probably the second most common. I mean, a lot of customers from Klaviyo went over there, so kind of just naturally occurred. Um, I mean, we have customers on ListTrack. A lot of the big clients are on ListTrack, I find. And then also some attentive clients.
oh, nice. What's kind of when do they start to see a return, or like when do they start to see some ROI from your product?
Within days, really. If they already have, and that's why I mentioned at the top of the call when you said like who's a good fit, but if they already have the flows built out, the abandonment flows, they have a campaign cadence, you're going to see revenue come in within days, very fast. Because it's really just seamlessly adding these high intent emails into the flows and campaigns that you already built. There's no extra legwork needed.
So are you basically saying, and I'm going to paraphrase and correct me if I'm wrong. Are you saying that, all right, I've got an abandoned cart flow like set up, right? And
Hmm.
I'll email people out currently that have signed up for my welcome series or some other way identified themselves, into my system, and I have their email. But you're saying that somebody that abandons cart who you don't know, like, you're able to identify who they are and who their email address is, and also email them the same way that you would as somebody that signed up for your welcome series.
Yeah, I think there's an important step before that I want to clarify as well, about how we're different. We actually check to make sure we have double opt-in to share that data. So the first piece is when they come on site, they have to accept cookies and they have to accept that the brand can track them. So if you're in California, right, you have like the CCPA pop-up appear. I know
Right.
we have it on our site. If you were to click decline and say that the brand cannot track you, revenue roll is actually pencils down. So like that's an important, I think, differentiation. And then on the backside, they have to accept that their data can be shared in our network. So if they opt out of their data being shared, if they ask for their data not to be shared, then we also won't share any info with our customer, with our advertiser customer. So like that's the double checkbox, if you will, that we need to get. before doing exactly what you just said.
Okay. All right. Is there any other kind of flows or use cases outside of abandoned cart that are kind of interesting or people can see like um, good response from?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of data in the graph. So there's a mailing address too. So people also like set up postcards, automated postcard flows. If they haven't opened emails in a while, you could try to win them back that way. It's also like super clear incrementality because they haven't opened an email in months and now they're back, which means the postcard likely brought them back.
Yeah.
Birthdays have been something because we also can give you their birthday in the data. So people can send them a gift on their birthday. That's worked out pretty well. I mean, the opportunities or the possibilities are endless with this graph. There are thousands of data points. So if you're a creative marketer, you can figure out the best way to use it for your brand.
Yeah, that's neat. That's neat. Um, and then like how do you report back? Like how do you do attribution to be able to show success with this? I know you mentioned, well, if they came back, if they've been unengaged for some period and you send them a postcard and they re-engage, well, that's a very clear, attribution. But is there like, do you track in your system, how these people engage with the store?
Yeah, exactly. So, well, I mean, Klaviyo and Shopify have a super strong integration like already. But there's two types of conversions that would be counted in our total. The first is a reactivation. So somebody who was in the Klaviyo account already as a subscriber, but they have not been included in flows and campaigns, and they've been, kind of put out of all of the sends because they haven't been recognized coming back on site. And that's because they're probably using a different device, they're using a different browser, so Klaviyo's tracker misses them. And so in this example, Revenue Roll recognizes, because it has all of Ethan's devices around him,
Mm-hmm.
if you remember from before, recognizes that, oh no, this is Ethan. He was already a subscriber, but he subscribed on his laptop and now he's back on his, phone ordering 30 fresh clean thread t-shirts. Right? Like
Are you going to call
so
out you're calling out my black t-shirts?
well, it is Black T-shirt Wednesday, so
Yes,
yeah.
yes, yes. I have asked him to be on the pod, but he hasn't responded yet. Well, I'll at him with this.
Exactly. Exactly. Um, so in that scenario, Ethan is a previous buyer of fresh cleaning threads, right?
Right.
He's in their system, but they haven't seen him in months, so they stopped emailing him, right? Because before, if he's not opening emails and not clicking, you got to pull him out. And so in this reactivation, we can get Ethan back into flows and campaigns to ensure he purchases those 30 t-shirts. That one is the first one. The second one is net new. This is when Ethan is not in the Fresh Clean Threads subscriber list, but he has opted into our network and accepted that Fresh Clean Threads can track him. And so we can try to make that match and give his email and other info to Fresh Clean Threads.
Awesome.
And
Awesome.
so each of those identifications are tied back to the specific Shopify order. And we can see the difference in time from when they were identified, when they were added to Klaviyo or reactivated in Klaviyo, back to the line item in Shopify. And so it's super granular, and some analytical marketers have been very pleased.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like this tool touches on analytical marketers, creative marketers. I mean, there's just a lot of ways that I would from our point of view that we would implement this within our existing client campaigns, especially having tried some previous tools in the space with kind of mixed results. Like I've really loved everything that we've seen coming out of your product so far with that. Any other pieces of features of functionality that we haven't touched on yet within the product or within your space?
Yeah, I think the hesitations with identity resolution tools is email deliverability health, right? And I think folks have had some bad experiences with competitors, many of whom are now my customers, because their deliverability tanked because they mass emailed all of these identifications. They weren't
Yeah.
necessarily as strategic as they could have been. But regardless, that is now in the community as like a point of hesitation to use any of these tools, regardless if they're as strict and as tailored in their approach as Revenue Roll is. So what we built was an entire deliverability platform that effectively warms up the sending domain. uses a ton of thousands and thousands of daily seed emails sent back and forth on a subdomain. And basically, that is our AI sending emails back and forth to this subdomain, opening the email, clicking the email. And what that does is that actually increases the amount of opens and clicks per email sent. And so the overall deliverability metrics increase. Um, Spencer, if you have that those last two slides on the deliverability piece, I think that could be important to visualize.
So are you physically sending emails for this, or is it all come out of the ESP? I think that's a question that our listeners are going to have.
Yeah, totally. So you won't see it in Klaviyo. It's on a subdomain. So it would
Okay.
be on like warm.freshcleanthreads.com. And in our system, in our, behind the scenes, we are sending thousands of emails back and forth to it throughout our network. And the AI is opening and clicking. But the beauty is those opens and clicks on the subdomain count in the calculation of the deliverability health of the main domain. And so these opens and clicks then improve the open rate and click rate and the spam rate and the unsubscribe rate on the main domain. And those metrics is how Klaviyo calculates the deliverability score. That's how Google Postmaster does it and all these other places, right? And so that's nobody is doing it that way. Nobody has figured that out for B2C email. And I would say we're the first
Interesting.
to.
Yeah, interesting. Interesting. Yeah, I mean the warming is such a big piece of all of this that people often don't. People often rush through that and then
Hmm?
aren't warming regularly. So it's super cool. That's super cool. I hadn't thought about it. I hadn't thought about it like that. Um, where you go next with this? What's coming next for the product?
Yeah, I think what's next is partnering with landing page optimization tech companies. So if you're familiar with like a Rebuy or an IntelliGems type of
Hmm.
platform, so we have beta customers who use our data when we identify somebody on site to customize and personalize the experience with a Rebuy and IntelliGems. Right? So those platforms today do A/B tests. Like let's try the black background versus the blue background, right? You build structured A/B tests. But with a product like ours attached to it behind it, you can say, okay, I want this landing page for females. I want this landing pages for males. Or a customer uses who sells like nice dress shirts. When a gentleman over 60 or 50 years old comes, they have the older models on the page. But when somebody younger than that, they have the younger models in the visuals on the landing page. And so that type of real time personalization is where we think this entire industry goes. And that's what we built this graph for. The email use case was the, quick, easy, very impactful, but the long tail of this business is like powering other tools in the space with better data so that they can, better personalize and customize.
Well, there's nothing more that I hate than being kind of targeted incorrectly,
Hmm.
or being sent. There's brands where I've only ever bought men's clothes from them, but I get an email with all the women's stuff first before the men's, and it's like, yeah, that's just not like, I'm a loyal customer. You should know, what I'm doing at this point with it.
Exactly.
You know.
Exactly. The customers have less and less patience. So when you reach out to them, you better have your ducks in a row and you better put exactly what they want, how they want it in the offer, whether that's an ad or an email.
Yeah. Yeah. Any other thoughts about revenue roll, or any other tips or tricks that you would tell a new customer to try out of the gate?
It seems counterintuitive, but 9 out of 10 customers that come to us need to be more aggressive in removing people from the email list. And that will help them, plus our warming tool, plus other things. But that right away will help their email deliverability because they will no longer be marked as spam or unsubscribed as often. And that actually will lead to more email revenue. You have to pull out people who aren't active after 30, maybe 60 days, but you have to be aggressive.
Yeah, yeah. Be more aggressive with that. And that's a great thought. So, I always like to ask people as part of the podcast, if you had one tip for growth that you could give a brand or merchant, on how to grow, what would it be?
I would say for any business, first order profitability, right? Getting to profitability as fast as possible. I know that seems counterintuitive coming from the VC-backed SaaS founder over here, but I think thinking about things with profitability first and foremost is the most important thing you can do for the health of your business.
Awesome, awesome, and I definitely agree with that. Profitability is key, and it allows you to do anything that you want to do if you have the cash flow to do it. That's awesome. That's a great tip. So listen, really just again reminding visitors, our listeners, make sure you check this out on YouTube. If you're listening on an audio only device, you can see two sexy guys in black t-shirts, talking about commerce. And please, give us a like, give us a comment. Do you like it? Do you love it? Or subscribe to our page. If you're interested in being a guest on the show as well, and you feel like you've got something cool to talk about, either telling your story as a merchant or a product that you think would be a great fit for our listeners, don't hesitate to reach out to us and let us know through the socials. Michael, I want to just thank you today for being on the show. Thank you for being an awesome guest. I think you've got a fantastic product. I think it's definitely something people should be looking out for as we go into 2025 as a way to send more emails and sell more stuff.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Ethan. It's been
Awesome.
a pleasure.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. All right, everybody. We'll catch you on the next episode.